Great. Apologies. I felt like isn't it weird when you're in the room and then you leave the room and you don't even know it because you're sitting at your desk? Anyway, my name is Kirstin Boehm. She, her pronouns. I'm our Senior Director of Outreach Research and Development at VSAC. It's great to see so many friends and partners in the chat here asking such good questions. We're so grateful for your support and partnership in working with students and families. And I'm joined by my colleague Miranda.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Miranda Roth. I'm manager of grant and scholarship operations here. So I think we're just going to jump right in. We will share some VSAC and state updates. Just a quick overview of some of VSAC services. I won't go through them all. We'll talk about some of them later. I did want to highlight, as you heard earlier, the Vermont grant application for the 25-26 school year and the Unified Scholarship application, so to apply for the VSAC-Assisted Scholarships and Forgivable Loans. Both of those became available October 1st. They can be completed by students now. So, anything that you can encourage your students to do now ahead of when the FAFSA becomes available in December might just help alleviate some of their stress later on this spring. So I thought we would start with there continues to be focus at the state level on workforce development. For VSAC, in our funding, that typically comes to us in the form of forgivable loans. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about what forgivable loans are. They can be a little confusing for students and even us. So as I mentioned, many of the programs that we see workforce development-wise are forgivable loans. They're interest-free in most cases. And what that means is when the student applies for one of these programs and receives the funding, they are committing to working in the state of Vermont in that particular field for which they receive the funding. So when they receive their award notification, they are also receiving a promissory note that they need to sign and complete and return to VSAC that is confirming their commitment to the work obligations or the service obligations in return for receiving that funding. And they sign a promissory note for each year that they are awarded funding. These programs do not require payment while the student is enrolled in their degree or their training program. So on that side of things, it's kind of like a grant or a scholarship where the funds are dispersed to the training program or the college, and the student doesn't need to pay anything towards them. And as long as the student completes that training program, gets their applicable license if it applies to their degree, and works in the state of Vermont for each year for which they receive the funding, they never have to make a payment on that loan. It only turns into a loan if the student doesn't complete the program, they don't receive their license, so they can't work in that field, or they choose to leave the state of Vermont and they find a job elsewhere. At that point in time, the program turns into a loan, and then the student would be due for payment. So how do we know what the student is doing? Each year, VSAC sends a mailing to the recipients of each of these different programs, asking what they were doing the prior academic year. So right now, actually, we just sent out letters to students who received funding from one of our forgivable loan programs for the 2023-2024 school year. That ended June 30th. In our letter, they have a form that they complete, and it asks them, were you enrolled in school? Did you graduate? Were you working towards your license? Are you employed? If it wasn't any one of those things, what were you doing? And it gives them a chance to explain. If they were in school, if they graduated, then basically they are considered like, we know that you were in school, you may not have had the opportunity to get a job yet, And they'll be considered in verify status. They won't be due for payment, and we'll check on them again next year with our next mailing. And at that point in time, if they had graduated, that we would expect that they had found a job. If they answered that they were employed, we have a form that we send out to their employer that verifies for the employer to confirm that the student or the recipient is working in their field, how many hours they're working, what their job position is. And then that comes back and that verifies for us, okay, they were working, and we'll calculate depending on the number of hours that they are working per week and how many months they worked between July 1st, 2023 and June 30th, 2024, we'll apply that towards their service commitment. And then again next year, if their commitment wasn't fulfilled fully, we'll send another mailing. We'll ask, were you employed? They'll answer yes. We'll send another form out to their employer. And then we'll just continue tracking their employment until their service commitment for each of the years that they received the funding is fulfilled. If they answer that they weren't employed, or they left the state of Vermont, or they're not going to be working in that field, they change their mind, then they'll let us know that, and those funds, that program will turn into a loan, and it'll be transferred to our servicing side, and then they'll receive a bill, typically January, February timeframe, if it was, if we found out now. I think we have a quick pop quiz.
I will launch that right here.
True or false? VSAC's forgivable loan programs require the student make payments while the student is enrolled.
Numbers climbing quickly. People are voting.
They
Love
are.
it.
Look at all those correct answers.
Not a single person has guessed true on this one. I love that.
Gave it away, Chris.
Ah! That's okay. We were at 67% participated by the time I misspoke there.
It's all good.
I'm going to go ahead and share those results out now. Sorry about that, Miranda.
I like those kind of quizzes. Help each other out. So the correct answer is false. While the student is enrolled in their program, they are not due for payments. Okay, so a couple of our more popular or more widely used forgivable loan programs. One of them is our Vermont Nursing Forgivable Loan, and this one has been around a while. We've over the past couple of years received a lot more funding for this program and seen a lot more use and interest. This program allows for up to full in-state tuition at Vermont public institutions, and a maximum of $16,280 at Vermont private or out-of-state institutions. So it can be used in-state, out-of-state. It can also be used by Vermont residents and non-residents. And it's available for most nursing programs, from the LPN certificate program to the two-year associates, bachelor's, RN, and even graduate nursing programs. It's forgiven if the student works full-time in Vermont in the nursing field for 1 year following licensure for each year that they receive funding. This past year, we were able to award about 30% more students than the prior year, and over $3 million in this program. And we actually had a lot more applications, received a lot more applications than we were able to award. So this program's definitely seeing some good use and hopefully increasing the nursing workforce in Vermont. The other program that we've seen that's newer the past couple of years is our Vermont Trades Forgivable Loan Program. This is up to full tuition, maximum $23,000 for recipients that are or students that are enrolled in an industry recognized training or certificate program. So this is for the non-degree and certificate programs specifically that lead to employment or career advancement in a high demand sector in Vermont. And we use the Department of Labor's list of high demand sectors when using or when determining eligibility for this program. In addition to tuition, students can also apply for up to $2,000 to help cover their exam or their licensing fees at the end of their program. It's open to Vermont residents and non-residents as well. It can be used in and out of state. And this is forgiven if the student works full-time in an eligible field for 1 year for each year that they received their certification. And I see that there's a question, is there any data available on how many people qualified for these specific no interest loans? The scholarship booklet notes estimated award numbers, but I'm wondering if that's based on how many have typically applied, use them, or based on funding levels. And then is there a criteria you use to determine who gets the money, or is it simply first come, first serve? So we do have data that we track on all of these programs around number of applicants and number of awards. This past year, in 23-24, we made 259 awards. We had over 500 applications. This year, we made 349 awards. And I think we were over 600 or 700 applicants. And there is, specifically for nursing, there is a hierarchy of, in the scholarship for Vermonters and Forgivable Loans booklet, there's a priority that the legislature has outlined for who receives the awards. Some of these also have preference statements or priority that's given to specific schools. So we do have to follow some of that. Deadlines always come into play. So because of the popularity of these programs, in the past, sometimes we were able to accept applications past the deadline, but as they get more and more popular and more applicants, and with the limited funding, we're having to stick more and more to that February 12th deadline. And most of these programs, if there is an income requirement, many of these programs are need-based, but the only one that has a solely income-based requirement is the trades, the Vermont Trades Forgivable Loan, and that's for families making $100,000 or less per year. And most of these, if not all of these programs, do require the FAFSA. Which is a little tricky. For some of these are available just to graduate students, and VSAC, while we receive the FAFSA for graduate students, we don't always load the data because that's not available. Most graduate students are not eligible for a Vermont grant, and that's what we use the FAFSA mainly for. But we do have a way that we're tracking that our scholarship system can check where the FAFSA information comes in for those graduate students, and we can so that we can confirm that they did file the FAFSA. Great. All right, another pop quiz. VSAC's forgivable loan must be repaid by the student if the student doesn't complete the program, their license, and or doesn't work in the field in Vermont.
And while folks are responding to that, just to clarify on filling out the FAFSA would be eligible for the loans, yes, plus additional applications, correct, Miranda?
Correct, yes, thank you for clarifying. So the Unified Scholarship applications required the FAFSA, sometimes the Vermont grant application, and sometimes an essay or a recommendation letter. So each of these listed in the booklet will list the documents that are required for the student to complete.
And then there was a question, is the full tuition max per year? I'm actually not sure. Does that make sense to you, the question?
Marisa, can you expand on that just a little bit? It's full tuition at the Vermont State institutions. For example, at VTSU for their LPN program, I think it's $21,000. That would be the maximum amount. At UVM, it's $16,280. out-of-state institutions and the private Vermont institutions, the max is also 16,280. But let me know if that doesn't answer your question. All right, everybody's gotten this question correct as well. This is true. If a student does not complete their program, their license, or doesn't work in Vermont in their field, then the loan must be repaid by the student. Okay, oh, good. Thank you. Any other questions related to forgivable loans? Okay. So as you may have learned in our Financial Aid 101 presentation, high school students enrolled in dual enrollment or early college courses are eligible for a $150 stipend to help offset the cost of books, fees, transportation. So funding for this program has been pretty stable, and we've used most of it, if not all of it, each year. So the $150 is available each term. And for high school students, we receive a list of eligible students from the Agency of Education. High school students apply by working with their high school, and it's typically free and reduced price lunch eligible students that are eligible. We get that list, and then we'll notify the students of their eligibility and send the funds to them. High school students that are enrolled in early college, the application process is a little different. For them, early college students may actually be eligible for the Vermont grant. So early college students are asked to complete the Vermont grant application and the FAFSA so that we can see if we can get them some additional funding through the Vermont grant. And then if they're eligible for the Vermont grant, once that is dispersed, then we also notify the student that they're eligible, that the early college student that they're eligible for this $150 stipend to help with books, fees, or transportation. We're full of quizzes today. This is a tough instructors. All right, early college students who are seeking to receive an additional $150 for books per semester apply for that funding by the voucher system verifying with their income with a school counselor, or by completing the FAFSA and the Vermont grant application.
Early college, not dual enrollment, early college.
That's the key word.
This is a formative assessment here, right? These are educators. We're helping to figure out how clear we're being. Question in the chat for high school students, they don't need to do anything for dual enrollment. Filling out the voucher is all they need to do. Yeah, correct. If the point of contact at the school checks for them that they are economically disadvantaged, that they are eligible for that funding, that's all they need to do.
Just going to jump in and say they are awarded that in a check, a paper check, and sometimes need a little bit of clarification on how to use a paper check.
Use that device. Yes, good point.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so the correct answer was early college students apply by completing the FAFSA and the Vermont grant application, and we'll notify them once that eligibility is determined. It's the dual enrollment students that use the voucher system.
Should I go back a moment? There's a question about forgivable loans.
Oh, yes.
Oh, staying on this topic related to the dual enrollment check, how long does it take for students to receive the check?
So we receive dual enrollment. So on the dual enrollment side, so the high school students that are using the voucher, when we receive a list weekly from the Agency of Education, and we award and disperse like the following. We usually receive it on Fridays, and we award and disperse the following Monday, Tuesday. So they should receive it outside of the mail. It'll be sent out within a week. Hopefully they would receive it pretty quickly after that. On the early college side, we have to wait for the Vermont grant to be dispersed for the fall. And at that, so that's typically a couple of weeks into the semester. Once the college verifies the student's enrollment, then we disperse the check each term.
And then, okay, so going back to the loan question, back to forgivable loans, the book says the amount covers up to full tuition, but then also says the award can be used to cover room, board, book, supplies. I'm confused as to how it would cover those other costs if you're only funding tuition. Can you clarify?
Good question. And it is confusing. So the award amount is up to tuition, but there are other funding sources that might be able to cover those tuition expenses. So for example, say they're receiving the federal Pell Grant, we won't reduce the amount of the forgivable loan by the amount of the Pell Grant. But so that, say they were receiving full Pell, which is about $7,400, if tuition was covered, the rest of that forgivable loan could be used towards those other expenses. I hope that helps. And then there's another question about how students get their $150 check. I was sent a link for them to apply for it because they hadn't received a check. Can you clarify the process again? The voucher site asks counselors if students will incur costs. What if the class does not? So on the check side, the process for dual enrollment students all starts on the high school side. And through the voucher process. So it's, I'm less familiar with the application side of this because we receive a list of the eligible students. But I think the Agency of Education and on their dual enrollment site has pretty good instructions for the application process, which might explain the costs question as well. Yeah, that's all I've got on that piece. I don't know, Kirstin, Stacy, if you have anything else.
If there are no costs, then they are not eligible for a stipend because the idea is to offset the book costs or transportation costs or internet costs if it's online or etc.
Right. So they could, if the class itself doesn't have costs, but the student expects to incur any of those expenses, then hopefully the counselor would answer that they do have costs, and then the student would be eligible for the stipend. Great. Other funds for training programs. There's also a credential value program. This is a program that's available to support adults or recent high school graduates who are also enrolled in training programs. This is a scholarship of up to $3,000, and it can be used for a variety of training programs. Students do need to be nominated by their VSAC outreach counselor. So students can reach out to one of our adult counselors or the VSAC counselor in the high school. If they have questions or think this program may be able to support them. In last academic year, we awarded close to $350,000 in these awards. So over 300 students received them. We've actually received additional funding this year. So hopefully we'll be able to help even more students. We nominate students, or our counselors nominate students on a rolling basis. We're able to award and disperse pretty much throughout the academic year. All right, so the good news is that FY25 FAFSA submissions are back on track of going more smoothly than they were this time last year. One of the tools that can help high schools with determining if their students have completed the FAFSA when it becomes available in December is our FAFSA completion tool. And this is available through the high school's My VSAC account at vsac.org. And to use the tool, you do need a memorandum of understanding on file, but most high schools in the state do. Certainly let us know if you're a high school and you're not sure. But once you're on the site, you'll upload your list of graduating seniors to the tool. There is a suggested format, so you want to follow the instructions to either download the CSV template or just follow the step-by-step instructions to make sure you have the name and date of birth format as it's needed, because it does have to be an exact match with our system. But once it's uploaded, it will display at the bottom of the screen your list of students and whether or not they've completed the FAFSA, when it was received, and also whether or not they've completed the Vermont grant application. So if you want to right now, you can use this tool to track the students that have completed the Vermont grant application. And as Stacy mentioned earlier, it's the Vermont grant application is one of those things that takes probably less than 5 minutes, and it's something they can check off their list and not have to worry about. A little bit more on VSAC-assisted scholarships. If you've received our booklet mailing, then you may have noticed that we changed the title of the booklet a little bit. If you haven't received the mailing yet, but you requested some of the publications, it is coming. That's happening this past week. But the booklet is now Scholarships and Forgivable Loans for Vermonters for the 25-26 school year. And we actually moved all of the forgivable loans to their own section within the booklet. So if students aren't interested in forgivable loans, but they're just interested in the rest of the VSAC-assisted scholarships, they can focus on that. Or if they've heard about some of our forgivable loan programs, they can go directly to that section and read some more about those. The deadline is February 12th, 2025. And that is to have the Unified Scholarship application completed, which is available now, as well as all of the required documents submitted. So the essays, recommendation letters, FAFSA, transcripts. In the booklet, within each scholarship or forgivable loan description, it explains the eligibility requirements and explains all of the required documents that are needed. And for any of our programs, if the student wants to apply for more than one, they only need to submit one of each document. So one essay, one recommendation letter, one transcript, and we'll use them across all of the programs or the scholarships that they've applied for. It's another great thing that students can work on now. As far ahead of the deadline as they can will make their lives easier, and their recommendation letter writers or their transcript submitters' lives easier if they can, start working on that now and submit those documents well ahead of the deadline. Another tool that high schools have available to them is our scholarship document uploader. So students can upload pretty much any document except for the FAFSA through their My VSAC account, but high schools also have the ability to upload some documents for the students. We see this used most often with transcripts or recommendation letters. The document uploader is also behind My VSAC, and you also have to have a memorandum of understanding on file, but again, most high schools do. This is as soon as a student has submitted a unified scholarship application, they will show up in the list of students that you will see in your uploader area. You can click on the student's name and select the document that you want to upload for them, and then that document will come through to VSAC. It'll update their scholarship account, and the document will drop out of the list of documents that you're able to upload for them, and it'll show kind of on a tracking of what documents you've uploaded for that student. So you kind of have an idea of a little bit of tracking for yourself and for the student. And on the student side, they'll be able to see that has also been submitted for them, and that will come off of their required documents list as well. If you are interested in any publications that VSAC has that we've mentioned today, or that any resources that you think we may have available, check out publications.vsac.org. We have a list of everything that is available either to order or to download digitally. They're all free So definitely check that out. Any questions? So I do see, do we have to request that booklets be mailed? And Kirstin, thank you for responding. Yes, you can order them from the website there. And it's pretty quick and easy process. You also get a, tracking information for when that's mailed. And Kate, I'm wondering if you've considered having a separate application for the workforce development funding because of different deadlines. This seems to be confusing for students. In the past, it could be. The programs are getting more and more popular, so the deadline is becoming more and more important for all of the workforce development funding. So we really are more likely to stick to that February 12th scholarship deadline across all of the programs, forgivable loans or VSAC administered scholarships.
Great, thanks, Miranda. I think I get to give you a little break now, and you all are hanging in there. Well, good job, everyone. 2 hours is a long time. You're coming up on the home stretch, so hang in there with us just for a few more minutes here. First, I just want to mention this exciting partnership that we have here in Vermont between the Community College of Vermont and several institutions. The institutions listed here, so Champlain College Online, Norwich, St. Michael's, Vermont State University, are committed to the Vermont Transfer Guarantee. It's a commitment to students who attend the Community College of Vermont that if they have a specific GPA, which varies by institution, that they're transferring into, and they've earned an associate's degree from CCV, they're accepted to any one of these institutions as a junior. So students have to meet the eligibility criteria for the selected college, and there has to be capacity within the intended major, but the website that's listed here and the QR code that we've provided take you to the Vermont Transfer Guarantee website, which is a part of the CCV website. And it's a great place to explore these programs and pathways with students, help them think about the multiple ways to get a degree from the institution that they want a degree from. But, there might be different ways to get there. So this is an exciting kind of new development for us in Vermont. As you all know, and are great partners with us in implementing every other year, VSAC conducts the senior survey with high school seniors across the state. So if you work in a school, this past year, spring 2024, was a senior survey year, and we super appreciate your support in getting students to complete the surveys. We had over 70% response rate. It's a rate we feel really grateful for your partnership with again, and really proud about. And something that we're working on doing is making sure that you as practitioners have more access to understanding and working with the data from your schools. So in the coming days, it's in the next week or two, schools will be receiving their individual school reports of their senior survey data. And we do have 2 professional learning experiences designed for you that are free and take the better part of a day. We encourage you to come with at least one other person from your school if you can and spend the day. There's one on November 8th here at VSAC, although that is full. Although I did just hear one person maybe canceled. So if you're like, ooh, I could get that one spot, you could send me an email and we can see if we can get you connected to our team. And there are still some more spaces at our professional learning at Lake Maury to help you go through those senior survey results. And then, of course, VSAC will be working on broad statewide analysis of the senior survey data. VSAC research also shows us that students make decisions about their plans for life after high school as early as 7th grade. And we're always really excited to bring career exploration events to all students, but particularly middle school students. This year, VSAC's Gear Up team hosted 2 awesome career events, one in the Northeast Kingdom, Kingdom Career Connect, and one at Castleton to support students in hands-on career and STEM exploration. We know that these events filled up very, very quickly. So if you were a school that wished you could have attended and were on that wait list, I just want you to know that we are working on ways to expand access to these events in the coming years, and we certainly welcome your feedback or thoughts on that. We're working on how do we equitably scale that access. And then one way that you can access that content, a little bit different, but very exciting, is on November 20th. VSAC Gear Up is hosting a virtual event for any Vermont 7th or 8th grade student or classroom. This is our Vermont Career Connect. So again, it's a virtual panel focused on Vermont's most promising jobs, really aligned to the McClure Foundation, most promising jobs pamphlet that is developed each year in collaboration with the Department of Labor. And schools can register at the link provided here. And we also have a lot of self-service materials for 7th and 8th graders online that can be used by students and families and schools. Over 100 recorded career interviews, mostly Vermonters, talking about their job and how they got there and what they love about it. We have a pop quiz. True or false? While VSAC's October middle school career awareness events are complete, schools can still register middle school students for VSAC's online Vermont Career Connect event on November 20th. Super. You did not fall asleep on that slide. Great job. I mean, maybe we don't know yet. The answer. All right. Thank you. Also coming up in the winter and spring each year, as many of you know, VSAC hosts college and career pathways events led by our VSAC Gear Up team. These are designed primarily for 9th and 10th graders, but always open to other grades as well. The goal is to help students and families learn about options, get concrete steps, find the right resources, connect with Vermont experts around choosing, applying to, and paying for college and career training. Our events are typically attended by students during the school day, so schools can sign up to participate. You can see the dates and times listed here. You can also email that email address that's listed there, collegepathways@vsac.org, for more information. We are planning one Saturday event again in Burlington, which is designed for students and families. And all of the sessions from the Saturday event will be offered via live stream simulcast. So anyone in the state can attend those. And that was really handy this past year when we had a giant snowstorm in April, and where people will be able to attend safely from home. And all of those sessions are recorded as well. Please mark your calendar for May 2nd, which will be VSAC's annual Transition and Career Conference led by our VSAC Gear Up team again this year. This is a conference that targets school staff and leaders, counselors, work-based learning coordinators, teachers, as well as other higher education and agency stakeholders who work with youth at the transition from high school to what comes next. Great opportunity to learn and connect with colleagues each spring. Program, I just want to be sure that you all are aware of our collaboration between VSAC Gear Up, the Agency of Education, and the Vermont State College System, including CCV and VTSU. This Essential Math for College and Careers, EMC squared, is born from research that shows that students who take remedial or developmental math courses in post-secondary are less likely to succeed in post-secondary, and they also incur, of course, costs and debt that doesn't necessarily provide the associated credits. So we collaboratively developed this course between high school math faculty and post-secondary math faculty. It is a hands-on project-based math course with guided student discussion, and successful completion of the course means that students can enroll in math courses at CCV or VTSU without needing to take placement tests or enroll in remedial math. The course is available for free through VTVLC. Of course, most students already have their course schedule planned out for this year, but we always like to mention that because it's an exciting opportunity for students to take advantage of. Questions so far? Okay, I'm going to move right along. Just, of course, want to mention, in case this feels new for you, for any reason you're new to this role, new to Vermont, new to working with VSAC, the backbone of VSAC's outreach services that I've been describing are our programs that are funded by federal grants that directly serve students. Our Gear Up and Talent Search programs are in more than 80 Vermont middle and high schools, serving over 3,500 students annually, plus more in post-secondary. To be eligible for these programs, students are typically the first in their family to pursue education or training after high school and from a modest income background. And the links provided here just tell you more about each of the programs, have lists of the schools that are served, the VSAC outreach counselors who serve those schools, as well as like links to refer a student if you wanted to via our website. If you have any questions, my email address is at the end of this presentation. I'm always a resource as well to get you connected to the right Gear Up or Talent Search counselor. Our aspirations partnerships provide educational consulting to schools and school leaders focused on the development of equitable post-high school planning systems, essentially ensuring that every student at that school has a plan for after graduation. And the model is focused on VSAC working with adults in a school building, so different from our direct service programs, and building on the strengths that exist in that school to deepen a school's culture of college and career focus and exploration. We usually partner with a school for 3 to 4 years. We're currently partnering with the schools listed here: Harwood Union School, Missisquoi, Brattleboro, and Oxbow. And we are looking for partner schools for upcoming years because we do cycle those schools off. So it's our final year, for example, partnering with some of them. My colleague Ellen Bagnato, her email address is here. If your school is interested in potentially being our next partner, this is there's no cost associated with this. We'd love to hear from you. Also, as you know, VSAC serves adult students. So VSAC's Educational Opportunity Center, EOC, serves students ages 19 and older who don't already have a bachelor's degree and who are from a modest income background or first to consider college or career training. So our website listed here tells you how to find the EOC counselor for your region. Stacy King might be yours if you're lucky. And there's other adult counselors who you would be equally lucky to meet as well. And VSAC's EOC team, the team I just mentioned who works with adults, also are serving the Afghan refugee community through a grant focused on refugee support services. And newly this year, we were awarded another grant funding to support any newly arrived refugee neighbor. So these are students of any age who are interested in support with planning for college or career training. They can connect with the EOC, the adult counselor in their region, and we can also provide translation to support them in that work. Oh, we have one, I think, last, maybe pop quiz. VSAC can help the following groups of refugee new arrivals in pursuing education or training: Afghan refugees, Ukrainian refugees, refugees from any location. All right, so the answer is refugees from any location. Thanks for your participation there. We are really lucky to be able to work with our new arrival neighbors and support them in their planning their goals and dreams. Any final questions? You all hung with us for the full time here. Miranda and I are also delighted to answer questions you might have offline. Thank you very much for your time today. Kate, one more question about the exam license fees application. How do students apply? Oh, Miranda answered.
I can answer quickly for everybody. So if, and this applies really for any scholarships that somebody they might initially complete the scholarship application, then they were like, oh, I found another scholarship I want to apply for. They can email us or there's a tool in my VSAC where they could add the scholarship to their application, assuming it's before the deadline. Specifically for this forgivable loan, for the Vermont Trace Forgivable Loan License and Fee one, the student could also email us to let us know that they want to apply. And then we do need some additional information from them. So we'll send them a form to complete to get that other information.
Great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your partnership and the opportunity to work with you to serve Vermont students. We hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday.